Good morning. Oh, look. Oh, we are all bright and early, ready to go. Happy Monday, everyone. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I got to travel. I got to go see my husband and my son and my bonus daughter and my sister and brother-in-law and niece went with us. We had a great weekend. Hey, Pamela. Here comes Kayla. Woo, good morning. Happy Monday. How are ya? Oh dear. Okay. So, not sure if it is me. Let me check my audio really quickly. There you are.
Can you hear me?
It must, I can hear you.
Okay.
It must have just been a delay on my headset or something. Who knows? Happy Monday.
No, my
How are
microphone
you?
wasn't on.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't
Yeah,
user
that'll
error. It's
that'll
always
do
good to
it.
know. That will do it, won't it? Awesome. So how are you? Did you have a good weekend?
Tired. I'm here.
I know. For those of you that don't know, hey Cassandra, good to see you. Pamela's here, Pam's here. Good to see you guys. So this is, I think, okay, we are running out of time. Like it's getting time for the baby to be here, right?
We're getting there. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So we've got some recordings in the bank. So it could be any time now, right?
Yep, he's allowed to come anytime. He's fully cooked. He's not due till the 5th, but I'm hoping a little earlier.
A little earlier would be nice, right, Mom?
Yeah. I'm definitely at that point where I'm just over it and tired and everything is difficult.
Right. I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to have you with us this morning as we chat about Mindset Monday. You know, Kayla and I've been getting together and really spending some time making sure that we're starting our weeks off in a good mindset. And so, of course, we've been inviting you. We're loving to see you with us this morning. Kayla, what is our quote today?
All right. So our quote today, I actually couldn't find an author. So if anybody happens to know, please feel free to let us know. But it is, when you get yourself into a dark place, you get to decide if it's a burial or a planting.
Ooh, I love this.
Yeah.
I really, really like this. Um, Kind of circles back to the whole, life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I respond to it. Um, and of course, it pulls in the resilience and the persistence and the perspective that we seem to regularly talk about in this mindset space, because my mindset really is up to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This for me just really highlighted the power of perspective. We've talked about it before and about the power of your thinking. I just thought it just struck me as a really interesting way to kind of to word it and to look at
Right,
that.
right, because things can be bad. Things can look bad. Things can feel bad. Oh my gosh, we talk about this all the time, right? Things can look bad. They can feel bad. But that doesn't make them bad. And if we look for the opportunity, what's that phrase? There's a movie. I'm terrible with this kind of thing, but there's a movie somewhere that my mom told me to always look for the helper.
I know
And
what you're
I
talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember what movie it was. Maybe it was a book. I don't know. But it makes me think about, how I look at things really does make a difference in how I react or respond to them. When I think about things being, uh, what was I listening to? Oh, I was listening to a book yesterday on the way back from Indiana, and it was The Path Made Clear. And it's an Oprah Winfrey book. And I loved it. There was a part in the book where I rewound. I don't know. What do you call it when you rewind digitally? Anyway.
Go back?
Yeah, go back, right? And I had to listen to it again because she was talking about this, what we pay attention to expands. What's the actual
what
anyway?
you focus on expands.
Yes. And she was talking about that, and this again makes me think about, when I wake up and I say, "Oh, I didn't get enough sleep," or "Oh, I'm so tired," or "Oh, I'm so exhausted," then I'm really inviting that in.
Mm-hmm.
Which really probably isn't what I want to be doing, right? I mean, I want to be saying things like, "Oh, I'm energized, I'm rested, I'm, the good things." And I love the idea that I get to decide if it's I almost said a funeral, but a burial. I mean, a burial or a planting. Is that what it was? A planting?
Yeah. And I also love that, like, it acknowledges you're in a dark place. So whatever that is for you, it's not dismissive that this time is hard. Dirt has been poured over your head, but it just highlights the power you have to decide, is this going to be the thing that brings you down and keeps you in that dark place indefinitely? Right. Or is this an opportunity for growth and for you to rise above?
Right. And we get to choose that.
Right.
And there's tons of stories. I mean, there's tons of stories out there, and who doesn't love to watch or read or listen to these wonderful stories where people are in these tragic, dark places. I was just talking to my bonus daughter and her boyfriend. They were telling me about a movie, and it was about this 15-year-old girl who was in a sailboat, and anyway, it was really bad. The weather got really bad, and the waves were terrible, and her boat was capsized, and all of these things. And of course, you know what they were talking about? She's on the phone on the radio with her parents, and her parents are encouraging her to come home. This isn't worth it, blah, 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 whatever. And she was like, "No, I think I'm just gonna go with the flow and stop trying to fight the waves and stop and just go with things." And she survived. And of course, I'm thinking about what more dark place could you be in except in a cabin of a sailboat that's capsizing in the ocean. Like, pretty dark, right? And yet she was talking about how she was going to, release her muscles and relax and do some stretching exercises and try not to fight so much, because she said that was the way she felt like she could survive it. And I was just like, man, 15-year-old girl in the middle of this crazy ocean, really dark place, and yet she's seeing the opportunity. Pretty amazing. And of course she survived. Right? So it is a testimony to the power of perspective.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of us in this realm of advocacy probably have a story similar. I mean, there's a lot of people who have come to advocacy because of something really negative that has happened either to them or a close family member or something like that. And instead of simply staying in that dark place and that negativity and the woe is me and this should never have happened, or all of those sort of things, they have decided to shift and create something meaningful and beautiful and helpful out of that painful experience.
Right?
I mean, I think a
right?
great example of this
Yeah.
is Brad, like losing like
Oh,
all his
absolutely.
limbs. And it's instead of like making that awful, like now we have GNA.
I know, right? Right? And we have an amazing leader putting that together and running that. And absolutely another beautiful story about, and you're right, they're all over the place in advocacy, you know, all over the place. Most of us have a why of that where, you know, it's been something, or it's been something dark that we've seen or experienced from the healthcare side, right?
Right.
And so it it's really interesting. I would love to hear folks' stories, right? About what was the perspective on a bad story or a bad situation that helped you create either your business or have the awareness that you thought, oh, maybe I want to help people in a different way than I've been helping them, because of this maybe dark place that, you know, you had a good perspective on. Um, I love that. Let's see. I made some notes here trying to think of, yeah, I wanted to know about your personal experiences with that. So if you have them, drop them in the chat or drop them in the comments afterwards. Let us know what adversity you've faced and have chosen to have a positive, or look at as an opportunity, a growth opportunity, a planting instead of a burial. And then I guess sometimes I think about too, you know, and this kind of goes back to community, Kayla, right? Like I notice that if I don't have anybody to talk to about these things, then it's really easy for my perspective to skew and see
Oh, for
burials
sure.
and, you know, which is one of the reasons that, you know, I love the circle so much is because I have people that I can talk to regularly and bounce ideas off of. And if I'm in a dark place, they can help me see the opportunity in it when I
Right.
can't,
Right.
you know.
Yeah,
So
we do
yeah.
have that. We collectively, as human beings, have that tendency to see that dark experience only for the negative. So, yeah, absolutely having people to talk to about it. Sometimes just that outsider's perspective can be very helpful. Because, like everything, when you have your own emotions involved, that rational and higher thinking, it's very difficult to access.
It is. It is. I'm trying to think. You know, most recently for me, I gave a large refund to a client, and it took me, I don't know, man, it feels like it took forever, but it probably just took a week or two, but that still feels like a long time sometimes, right? You know, 10, 14 days to really work through how that, you know, get back to focusing on not the error that caused the refund, right? Because that's really easy for me to do, but rather, how do I prevent that? Like, what's
Mm-hmm.
the perspective of, you know, what do I learn from that? It's also interesting, in in the book that I was just reading, and it's The Path Made Clear by Oprah Winfrey. She was talking about asking myself, what am I supposed to learn from this? Right? Like every dark time, if I just ask myself, or you know, my creator, higher power, whatever your universal thing is, you know, what is this supposed to be bringing into my life? What am I supposed to be learning from this? Because every experience really is a growth experience, um, regardless of how they feel or regardless of how they look. It really is a growth experience. That's how we as humans continue to evolve, is through these experiences. So I need to be asking myself. So I put it on my whiteboard, you know, what am I supposed to be learning from this? What is this supposed to be teaching me? Because that's, you know, it's hard to ask myself that sometimes. Sometimes I just, like you say, sometimes I just want to stamp my feet, right?
Yeah.
And you know, be upset about what's happening. But if I can remember to just ask that question in a quiet way, maybe I can get a new perspective on it. Hopefully, that's the goal. Anyway. So I noticed that Pam and Cassandra are kind of quiet this morning. Both of y'all usually are hitting us up in the chat, and I don't see a lot this morning. Drop something, let us know how your weekend was.
Where you at?
Oh, that's cute. I like that. The Google eyes. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. So good stuff. I don't know. It is. See, I could get really negative right now. Like, I just looked out the window. And I'm like, okay, this is not a burial. Like, you know, it's not a burial. It's a planting in the springtime. We're going to see this. Well, good morning, Cassandra. We're glad that you joined us. Yeah, you know, and this is something else that I really like about perspectives. And it feels really good when I'm in a space where I can, Pam says, lots of different perspectives. And, you know, when I'm in a good place, I'm able to entertain a lot of different perspectives, which is nice too, right? Is, you know, again, what is this teaching me? What am I supposed to learn from this? And oh gosh, it kind of gets into our experiences affect our perspective, right? Like I might have a certain perspective based on my life experiences. I wonder how that plays into this. Like, is that a place where we get into these intuitive versus ego feelings and need to, you know, work on, you know, our perspective? Because maybe our previous experiences skew our perspective sometimes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I think, you know, as human beings, we have like a negativity bias. And so particularly if we weren't raised in an environment that teaches us to look for the positive, look for the learning opportunity, look at this as growth instead of burial, then, you know, it may not even cross our mind. It may just be, oh, this deep, dark place is just awful. And that perspective perhaps has never been challenged.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, you know, a lot of people, I've heard over the years, a lot of people carry this belief that everything happens for a reason. And so I think that ties closely with this and just sort of gives it to me, it gives it a little bit more depth to help you figure out, okay, what might that reason be then?
Ooh, right. I like that question too. I like that. Like, what might this be? And, you know, sometimes we don't get to see that until afterwards.
And sometimes that could be a really hard thing to find. I mean, that's what I like about this quote is, you know, the first part of it acknowledges, in my mind, acknowledges the pain when you get yourself into a dark place. So when people say everything happens for a reason, to me, that can be kind of dismissive, especially when you are in that like acute situation where you're just feeling the pain and it's deep and it's dark and you're not even mentally ready to try to figure out, you know, the positive aspect. Like there's certainly, you have to give yourself space and grace to feel the hard feelings before you can try to move forward with, you know, making something good out of it. And so sometimes that everything happens for a reason kind of can just piss you off.
Hey, I was just about to say, isn't the way with a lot of these things, right? Isn't it the way with a lot of mindset things?
A lot of it, like it's a pendulum. It can go the other way.
And I think what you just said is super key to all of it. Is like honoring the fact that it is dark and that it is hard and that it is painful and that that's okay. Like, it's interesting because that, Kayla, that really kind of brings up this whole thing of it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
Right? Like sometimes I think as society, we want to just pretend like it's not okay to not be okay. Like,
I would like to qualify that statement. It's okay to not be okay for a little bit.
right. But I think that's important. I think that that is an important part of the process.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's really interesting because for me personally, this is something that I have to work on because I tend to compartmentalize and put things in boxes and put them away and think that that means that I'm okay. When really, in order to truly be okay, I need to process the pain and the hurt and the like all of the dark parts of things and then get to the place where I can be like, okay, yes, that was painful. Yes, that was dark. Yes, all of those things.
Yep.
Right? And I'm going to move to the next phase of healing, right? And look for the opportunity in that dark season. But I do think that because what I heard you say was, a lot of times people, society, whoever say everything happens for a reason, as if that's supposed to mean that there isn't this bad feeling and darkness and pain, right? And that's what I heard you say is that we need to
Right.
acknowledge
It can really err to the side of toxic positivity.
Yes. And that's
I think
not what
people
we're
that are
talking
well-meaning with it, like, people don't want to see people that they care about in pain, but that is part of life. And if you truly love, value, and respect somebody, you have to be able to sit with them in their pain and help them work through it and then get to this place where we're ready for a positive perspective. You can't just skip that messy part.
right? So my grandmother used to call this the pity pot part of the process. And she was, and she, I know that may not be an appropriate way to describe it, but that's what she would say. She would be like, it's okay to feel this, but just remember, and she used to also say, now you've got a blister on your butt, now you got to sit on it. Like that's how she, and these are just little things that even today, it helps me move through the process, right? And be like, okay, this is painful, but it's okay, right? And I can learn how to not do that again so that I don't have this pain. And I think that's, yeah. So I love that, right? Like having a community, having friends, having people that will sit with us in the pain and the darkness so that we can get to the place where we can go, okay, now what am I supposed to learn from this? What is my takeaway? What's the opportunity for growth? Like I said, it's all about growing as humans, right? Like all of it. I love this. This is great. So how are we going to take this into the week? I'm thinking about like how am I going to because I don't have anything right now. I'm really in a good place. Sometimes I always say this too. Like I'm in a good place right now, but there's usually like 1 week every 6 to 8 weeks that is just a complete disaster. Like nothing goes right. Everything goes wrong. I feel horrible. My practice is blowing itself up. I'm never going to make another penny. Nobody wants to work with me. Like it's literally, I don't know if anybody else has like seen their cycle, but mine is every 6 to 8 weeks that there's just this week that is just a freaking shit show. for lack of a better term. It is just a disaster. And the good news is that I have learned that in that week, literally the thing that I say to myself is, it'll be over soon. Like, it'll be over soon. Like, right? It'll be over soon. And then like next week, things will be better. This is just a piece of time. But it's taken years for me to learn.
Well, and it goes back to a concept we've talked about before where, there's this expectation that things aren't going to just go right. And then with that, you can kind of put some things in place, like have it on standby. When these things start happening, you need to take steps A, B, and C in your personal life to help you stay even keeled. And maybe those are days where you block out 10 minutes in the morning to really work on your mindset before you even start opening the computer and tackling all that stuff.
Oh, so true, Kayla. So true. Like I have a morning routine, and I will say on those weeks, that morning routine usually goes a little bit longer. I get a little bit less client work done those weeks because it's just, like I said, it's survival. It really is. Even today, I mean, I hope that other people can relate to this because it's really bad. Like it's a dark week when those weeks come. It's a dark week, and I think I shared with some folks. I'm thinking about one particular week was terrible. I mean, it was so bad. Like I broke a crown. It's ridiculous. Like it's just crazy those weeks, and it is. And I, you know what, Kayla, sometimes I do think that is my calling to be like, okay, you're not taking enough time for yourself personally, right? Because and maybe I should probably do that. I should probably go look at my journal and compare that to the weeks where I've not worked as many hours, because we've talked about that too, right? Like generally, I average about 40 hours a week, but some weeks are 10, 20 hours. Some weeks are 40, 50 hours. And I should like look and see. That would be interesting. That would be interesting to see if they line up with the weeks that are just a disaster.
Oh, yes, maybe it's self-inflicted.
Right. I know. Which is a whole nother conversation, right? That whole like, ooh. But you know what? I've shared before, Kayla. I am a brick through the windshield kind of gal. Like a little pebble does not necessarily get my attention. Sometimes I need a big old brick. So this might be my brick. Not sure. I love this. Well, I love that we get to do this. I love that we get to talk about it. I love that we get to bring it up to other members. I hope that it's helpful for other folks. What's your call to action this week? What do we want to hear from folks?
Well, I would love to hear if anybody would like to share a story about a time where they were in a dark place and, either did feel like it was a burial and were in that mindset, or did have the perspective to be able to see it as a planting, and just kind of a little bit about that. I'd love to hear that for starters, for sure. And also, if you have successfully found yourself in a place where you took the perspective of it being a planting, what were some things for you that you found helpful in getting in that positive mindset?
Yeah, that would be some really good. Great to see you, Pam. I'm glad you got to hang out with us. We're getting ready to sign off right now too. Go have a great week. We'll look to hear from you in the platform. You too, Cassandra. Yeah, I would love to hear that too. I'm going to look for some actionable things. I'm going to ask, just getting started in business is rough. It is. It's not an easy thing. And I think that that's not talked about enough, but that's one of the reasons that we do this, to kind of help keep your mindset in the right place where you can survive that hard stuff right out the gate. So yeah, I want to hear from folks, and I'm going to look for some actionable steps that can kind of help us shift our perspective and maybe post about some of those through the week this week, so that if you are finding yourself in this dark place and feeling like it's a burial and having a hard time finding the opportunities for growth and shifting your perspective, gratitude is always a good one to kind of help us make that shift. Journaling, I think, is really, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy.
And sometimes, for the more concrete thinkers, like doing a little bit of like a root cause analysis sometimes can be helpful. I mean, truly, there's things that just happen out of the blue that aren't within our control. But a lot of times, like thinking about, you just mentioned a client you had to refund, even if on your knee-jerk reaction is, I didn't do anything wrong, there's always an opportunity to look through the situation. And even if you don't feel like you were wrong, is there something you could have done differently?
Done better.
That perhaps could have led to a better outcome.
Right? Yeah. Actually, yeah. Yes, for sure. And mine specifically, and that was communication. Like, I think if I had done a little bit better in concise communication, I think that I could have avoided that. Which is really interesting. But anyway, that's another thing. Yeah. Root cause analysis, some gratitude, some journaling. I love all of that. I think that's great. And then we'll put some posts in the platform to kind of keep our mind aware of this quote through the week. I love it. Awesome. Okay, Pam had to go. Cassandra, you have a wonderful week. Everybody that's listening, watch for the post. Tell us about what's happening. Are you struggling with anything? Do you need some help? Do you need to walk through it? Talk through it. Or tell us a great success story where you were able to get out of the burial mode and into the growth and opportunity mode, and how you did that. I would love to hear more about that.
Sounds great. I look forward to it.
Me too. Okay, well, we may see you next week, Kayla, and we may not.
I'll probably be here.
All right. Well, you'll be here one way or another, because we have recording
True.
in the vault ready to come out, so that you can take some time off. But hopefully we'll see you live. If not, take care of yourself. And
thank you.
I'm excited to meet the new baby. All
Me
right.
too.
I know, right? Okay, everybody have a great week. We will see you back here. Well, we'll see you on Wednesday, hopefully, in the live call. And we'll see you back here for some more Mindset Monday next week. Bye, guys. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.